do this. When you put on a luncheon or a banquet, he said, don't invite your friends, brothers, relatives, and rich neighbors. Can I just remind you, he's sitting at a banquet where a guy had invited his relatives and rich neighbors, okay? Jesus was not always PC. He says, don't do that because they'll always invite you back. And that will be your only reward. And make no mistake, it is a reward. It's not wrong for us to invite our family and our friends and our close people together. This is a lonely city in a lonely world where we need people to walk deeply with. He said, but that can't characterize our whole lives. There's gotta be space where we do something else. Yes, there's a reward in that moment, but he says more than that. He says, instead, invite the poor, the crippled, the lame, and the blind. These were the excluded, marginalized, and forgotten people of their time. Who are the excluded, marginalized, forgotten people of our time? Who are the people that are categorized and labeled in our time? Jesus would say, those are the people we should be inviting in to the space in our coffee shop, to our cubicle at work, to our space in the gym, to our home and our table for dinner. Because then at the resurrection of the righteous, God will reward you for inviting those who could not repay you. Is there any better word to describe what Jesus did for us? Then you will be rewarded for inviting those who could not repay you. Followers of Jesus, that's our story, isn't it? So listen, when we do this, we actually declare the story of God without even saying his name. We should say his name, but even before we do, we embody what he's done for us. This is what I'm inviting us to experience. How does the way we welcome people into our space declare what God is like because of the way we show up and because of the place waiting, prepared, paid for, and invited to them? And so listen, I just want to say, if we're really going to be followers of Jesus, this is what he's like, and so this is what we should be like. He is a God of hospitality. It was his idea to begin with, and while we've built an industry on it, it's always been his character. And if we're gonna look more like him, our lives will grow in this direction. Some of you are like, I am so introverted, I hate everything you're saying. Introverts, you know how to invite people into space. It just doesn't look flashy and in big crowds. I'll join you, I'll compete with you, I will win the introvert battle, okay? Like we'll just go toe to toe. God can, and listen, even if that's true, and even if your house is tiny or you just live on someone's couch, there are spaces for you to create around you. And the God of the universe who put his spirit alive in you because of his son who died for you is capable of turning you into a hospitable person. Someone once went to someone and I said, listen, this is just how I am. This is just how I am. I'm just like this. And he said, well, that's a pretty terrible theology of the Holy Spirit. And I was like, dang. Because the Spirit changes us to be like Jesus. And Jesus was hospitable, so all of us have a step. Nobody's off the hook. And so let me give you just 3 quick steps that come right out of this story to grow in hospitality. Number 1, if we're gonna grow in hospitality, all of us are gonna grow in hospitality. Turn to somebody and say, you're growing. You will not grow in comfort. It's gonna be risky. You're gonna have to pass the note, check yes or no, it's gonna happen. You're gonna fall on your, like we hosted a thing and invited some people in, and I can't even tell you how many donuts we offered to gluten-free people. You don't always get it right, people, but at least we try. We're gonna grow in hospitality. Number 1, widen the circle. Tell somebody, widen the circle. I don't know how big your circle is, but followers of Jesus, I just want to say, and for anyone who's not, like, you're not a follower of Jesus and you've watched the church from the outside, I just want to confess and say this is true. Christians get in such tight huddles and enjoy someone, like one another so much, there's no space for anybody new, fresh, or anything else to feel like anything but an outsider. And followers of Jesus, we need to do better. Yes, we cling to one another. Yes, we support one another. But we are a people who are not just about being disciples and surviving a world so different from us. We are a people embodying in the world the story that God has invited us to. And so you want to get shoulder to shoulder? No problem. Just face outward with your circle, right? This is Red Rover, right? Just let them come your direction, scoop them up and put them in your line and don't let go. We've got to widen the circle. We got to see people. If you have not encountered and invited someone in that makes you uncomfortable recently, we need to do better. If someone hasn't been so shocked at your invitation that out of their own insecurity said no, we haven't reached far enough. We got to reach farther. In fact, a few weeks ago, we drew these relational maps of people we interact with. Make your map reach farther. Watch closer. Walk slower. Add people constantly that you are holding in God's presence and saying, God, if you give me the chance, I will show them who you are. This is the kind of people that we are. In fact, we're going to do this as a church here later on this week. We're going to just carve out some time that all together in all of our own spaces, we're going to walk and ask God to do what only he can do. It's called a prayer walk, which makes it sound super spiritual. Let me just describe it for you. It's where you walk and pray. You're all trained. All we do is we move through a space asking God to do what only he can do. We do that alongside people that we care about. We pick a corner of the map we drew just a couple of weeks ago where the places we go on a regular basis, but instead of showing up like we normally do, hurried and on our way, we show up slow, anticipating and inviting God. This is part of imagining hospitality in that space. It's part of like planning what it would look like to welcome people in, preparing ourselves and maybe them by God's help to meet in a powerful way so that at the right time we can invite them in and welcome them into a friendship at least, and maybe one day into a friendship with Jesus. This is the kind of people that we are. I encourage you to block some time. We're just going to do this and see what happens, see what God stirs up. Number two, not only are we going to widen the circle, we're going to clean up the calendar. Tell somebody, clean it up. All right, some moms did that real well. Clean it up. Clean up the calendar. You can't be hospitable in a hurry. You can't welcome going fast. In fact, I love this. Rosaria Butterfield, I hope you grab her book. She said this, practicing radically ordinary hospitality necessitates building margin time into the day. Somebody say margin. Look it up. Most of us don't know what it is because we got productive lives where every moment is full. A life characterized by margin, time where regular routines can be disrupted but not destroyed. This margin stays open for God to fill up. To take an older neighbor to the doctor, to babysit on the fly, to make room for family displaced, any number of things. It only happens with margin. If we don't have margin, we will not become more hospitable. So we got to clean up the calendar. Tell somebody, clean it up. And finally, this is going to be everyone's favorite at the top of the hour. You've been waiting all day for this. I love it. Whew. Not only are we going to widen the circle, encountering people we're not like and haven't spent a lot of time with, not only are we going to clean up the calendar and slow our lives down and let God fill it with whatever he wants. So we're going to make some room for him to do what only he can do. This is everybody's favorite. Number three, we're going to limit our lifestyle. It's like the most countercultural thing I've said all day. We're going to limit our lifestyle. Our whole culture says spend every dollar you get and however many they'll let you borrow so that we can be comfortable, appear well, and make sure we always have the latest upgrade. Have we realized yet that that doesn't actually lead to joy? You know what leads to joy? Watching someone's face light up when they step into a space that you've imagined for them and maybe watch them come alive in Jesus. To do that, we got to have margin. And so we limit our lifestyle. Rosaria Butterfield says it this way, living out radically ordinary hospitality leaves us with plenty to share. Plenty of food, plenty of space, plenty of time, and yes, plenty of money. Because we intentionally live below our means. When will there be a corner of our wallet full of money only to give away to others? When will we not be strapped and stressed, working extra hours to make up for the money we shouldn't have spent for ourselves anyway?